Done.
Yeah, but come on, touching his, like his belly, like, ugh.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Ahsoka Season 1 review, the penultimate episode. I am the number one Kylo Ren fanboy, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by
The Grand Admiral Taylor Field.
the Grand Admiral. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, as usual, we got a busy week here at GeekVerse. How busy? I don't know, because I forgot to talk about Taylor off air about how busy. But at some point in the next 7 days, at least I know Mortal Kombat review with Dylan and Kirkland are up. I am not on that because I luckily just got back to my place last night. My flooding is done. You can go check out After 9 for that. Check out After 9. That's on the feeds. That was a fun one. Had a good crew. Got to meet God Loves 69, which was an interesting story and tale. So I'm excited for him to be on the next one in October, a bit more full. So it was good to catch up with S-Bubs and Maddie and Carl. So it was good to have everybody. And yeah, it was a fun one. So go check that out. What else is happening later on this week for people? Maybe it's not our biggest fan base, but we got some diehards out there. Saw 10, Saw X is happening. The review that'll be dropping Friday for podcasts. Of course, recording the night before for everybody else. And then at some point there will be a boy, or I guess Gen V review. That's just the official name, right? Gen V. It's not the boys Gen V. It's just Gen V.
Just Gen V.
Gen V. So it'll be a review because I kind of forgot to that it's the first 3 episodes dropping. And then hopefully at some point there'll be a review for the creator. I'm going out of town on the Saturday, so that's where it's posting some issues. So we will see. But then the next few weeks, you got the Ahsoka finale, you got Loki happening. And then very soon, and once that clock turns October 1st, we will promote a bit more. But we got the 24-hour stream coming up. Got some fun things cooking on that one. Got some first time evers happening there. I'm very excited to roll out some of that stuff. Some returning things, some new things, everything in the middle. Taylor Field, when all these things are popping off, where can they find it?
Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us in the Internet Connection in the search bar. GeekVerse.ca is our home base. GeekVerseCast is our Twitter. And GeekVerse is our Facebook.
And with that, Taylor, I'm going to let you go first and tell me and the viewers and the listeners and everyone else in between, what did you think of the penultimate episode? Episode 7, what was it? Dreams of Madness? I think that's what it was, right? Something like that.
I don't remember the
title?
madness, but I remember the dreams.
And it's definitely madness. So there you go. So we're heading to that finale. We got one more week. Honestly, last 2 weeks have been pretty hot and heavy. You had your Anakin Clone Wars episode, you had Thrawn, and you had Ezra. Now the players are kind of in play for the last 2 episodes. What do you think of this one?
This episode was... I liked it a lot more than last week's. I have to say, especially with Thrawn. Thrawn really grew on me in this episode a lot. I feel much more ecstatic with him and the overall development of his character, portrayal of his character in this. I feel like the way the episode started off too was really magical as well. It felt very Star Wars-esque, and it answered some questions that you and me were concerned about, that we thought, oh, we probably aren't really going to get this. And I'm happy that they tackled things the way they did, and I'm excited to see where that's going to go in the finale. But I'm glad that we got a little bit of a follow-up on that storyline. I feel like other things too that unfolded just felt very Thrawn-esque, which was great. There were some cool action sequences. The score was really, really good, and yeah, there were just a few surprises and fun little Easter eggs and drops of tidbits that were sprinkled in. I was like, oh, that's really cool. I'm really happy that they did that. And there's still a mystery surrounding, after last week, Balin. And I feel like what he's thinking, because when we're watching the episode, Madison looks over and is like, what do you think Balin's thinking about right now? And I'm like, fuck if I know. Like, I'm really at a loss, because he's just kind of keeping to himself. But well, it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds in the finale. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. There was a lot of action. There was a lot of good advancement of the story, and it just felt like they really capitalized on what they established in last week's episode, especially with Thrawn. I'll reiterate again, he grew on me. I really, really liked him a lot more in this episode. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I like I said last week, I like Thrawn. I don't have the same issues other people do as the same thing. I only know the Rebels Thrawn. This has pretty much met that. Also, we talked about the look last week, but that's something that's okay. I accept it. I move on. This is what it looks like. Okay, cool. Could have been a little better. Maybe they'll change it up. Whatever. I think there was a good presentation of Thrawn here. I think we'll get into spoilers, but I think they do a good job of showing how calculated he is and get to see a lot of his point of view of you see if he's described as the Char Wars, the Star Wars chess player, you get to see that in this episode. So I like the episode. I don't think it's like anything like last week or the week before was like absolutely amazing, but I think there's some really, really good moments in here. Again, I think I'm rating on a curve with this one because I think the finale is going to have a lot to do with obviously how I feel about the whole series, but I think that it's not confirmed, but all we hear about is there is a season 2. I really hope there is a season 2 that it's quite quickly followed up. I don't think this is a show that, to me, it's not gonna be like Mandalorian where it kind of ends and you've closed everything, you've left some things open you can pick up later on, but majority of the plots of that season are done. That you can go, oh, we can wait 2 years for another season. Obviously, writer's strike ended. Actually, writer's strike ends in about 3 hours, so that's good. We'll talk about the newscast, but they got a lot of good stuff against AI and stuff. So good thing is writers can start doing that Mandalorian, so that thing's gonna go. So a lot of stuff that we thought was going to be delayed will probably not be delayed as much, maybe by like a month or two, but we're pretty lucky there. So I think this needs an immediate follow up, and that's where it just comes down to next week. I'm excited to see how they pull it off because there is a lot they are juggling. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, again, it feels okay. I could go a little longer, and I think that comes down to a couple episodes ago when they are more around the 30-minute mark. That'd be great. But as an episode, I enjoyed it. There's some good moments here, some good action here, some good character moments here. I'm really liking, because no spoiler, I think I'm actually really enjoying the guy that's playing Ezra. I think he's doing a good job. There's one scene in particular that just screamed Ezra Bridger. I was like, oh, this feels like Ezra right out of the animated show. Like, he's doing a phenomenal job, because I wasn't sure how much he was going to be even in this show. So, and even then, I wasn't sure would they just kill him off real soon, which they still could do. But even if he's not killed, good. There's some other good stuff that's kind of interjected with some of our main characters from the OG trilogy, which is very cool. So no, overall this is good. I think it's just that it's a good setup, but I'm just still very curious what the finale is and what they're going to do, and in a good way, not in a bad way. And like I said, that's going to be all dependent on how I mean my rankings are going to be dependent on how that one is, because like I said, last week I thought was stellar, nearly like in some aspects a home run. This wasn't that, but yeah, I'm very curious. So let's get into spoilers. We're going to take our first break, then we'll be right back and we'll talk about spoilers. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So because we're going a little bit later, I want to start. We can start with the villains this week, whether it's the Jedi or the whatever they're called. Jedi, mercenaries, Thrawn. Lo and behold, D.H. Hansey, our favorite resident criminal. Hope you enjoyed your Comic-Con, and hope to see you on the next After 9 soon. But she asked, question for the cast: what do you think happens to Morgan at the end of the series? So, like, if she's saying series dead, like, I guess, like, that's what I'd say. Like, if we're talking about the whole show overall, she'll definitely die. This season,
She'll be alive.
Maybe. I'll say yes, but I'm not strong on it. And if not, she definitely dies next year. Just because I feel like she's making a lot of mistakes, and Thrawn is making the same way Thrawn last week kept bringing up to Sabine of like, oh, thanks for bringing me back. Thanks for starting a new era. And she's like, yeah, let me just get Ezra. He is keeping track of how many screw ups Morgan is having, between Ahsoka, between Balin being a big one, just fucking bouncing from the whole crew, being like, I'm out here, to like losing some troops and things like that. So I think there's 3 or 4 things that Thrawn's like called her out on that I think the only reason she survives is because they're down people. But there's also a version of this where I see him or the witches or somebody decide, you know what, you're just not cutting it. Like, thanks for getting me back here, but like killing her almost to set an example of, hey, don't fuck up, because we have so few people, so little people, so little resources. We can't afford fuck ups. We can't afford people like her saying, oh yeah, Ahsoka's dead, and then Ahsoka popping up, oh yeah, Balin, he's great. best Jedi mercenary out there, and then he leaves. So it's just like she's made some really big errors. So I will say she survives, but it would not surprise me if she dies. I'm like a 51% that she's surviving, but you think she's definitely surviving this season?
I think she's definitely surviving. Yeah, I think if anyone, if they were to axe anyone, I could kind of see it be like the Night Mothers for some reason.
No. No way,
But
they got to go in there because like Morgan, I guess she's shown some power, but I feel like the Night Mothers, like they look like they're gonna have like very Hercules sort of evil force power. So I think
I
you'll
just
need
feel
that
like
for
it could
Ahsoka
be,
2 or the movie.
I just feel like it could be something where like the building's crumbling down and they just don't get it out. They don't get out in time or something like that. I hope not, but I as far as Morgan goes, I do not believe she'll die in this season 1, the finale.
Overall show though, she's dead though, right? When we end the show,
I think once we get to the
Or the
overall
movie,
show,
whatever.
she dies, or the movie. She might not
Yeah.
even make it to the movie. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll see. I wouldn't be surprised, but like I said, I'm still saying she's surviving right now. And yeah, let's talk about Balin and Shin. So this is funny. This is where there's kind of two moments in here. We'll get back to Ezra, but there was a moment where I really worried they're going to kill Ezra and Balin within 5 minutes of each other, and I was ready to come in here guns ablaze and being like, this show fucking sucks because you can make a choice, and of course I would have let Cena out to the finale, but it's like, man, you can't do this. So obviously we'll get to Ezra later. There was like I thought a tease there, but we had this interesting thing where okay, last week they met these town also mercenaries, and they're gonna team up with them, Balin and Shin, to go take out Ahsoka, or at that point just Sabine and Ezra, right? So next time we see them, they're together, they've found their spot, they're gonna go attack. Great. And then Balin holds back, and I can't remember, I'm paraphrasing the whole conversation. You know, he drops some great line about like being impatient with victory will often lead to defeat. But he gave this great kind of little dialogue here, which to me kind of confirmed, and I'm not saying this because this is what I predicted. I just thought that's the route it was going, the way they portray the character so far, that I said I wondered if Balin was the more spiritual type, and with Shin, she reminded me very much of that last Jedi Kylo when he's ready to go with Rey and make all the babies, but then he sees that throne. He's like, man, I'd sure like that throne. He even says that about Shin in this episode. He's like, your ambition's much different than mine, and he's pretty much just saying, go get the kill, then tell throne, like just saying, make the kill, claim it, and you'll like move up in the ranks per se, right? And that's to me, we'll get to her with Ahsoka after, but to me that kind of confirmed what I've been reading from the character, that it's not that it is again almost very Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, not to the same extent, but in the same extent where Qui-Gon had a much more bigger belief and spiritual belief. Maybe Obi-Wan did near the end, but at that point, Obi-Wan was very much, I'm working my way up to the Jedi, going to become a knight, master, etc. That's the same with Shin. Shin's kind of like, oh, that's great. You're doing your thing there. You want to find this path. But she didn't go with him. She's not that interested. She asked him questions, but she's not like, no, you're passed away. She's like, no, well, I'm going to take this chance and move up. And then he moves off on her own. I'm really happy, but I am worried with Ahsoka being like, give me your weapon. I can show you a new way. I'm fucking done. I'm done. I love Kylo Ren, and I can buy the turn enough because I enjoy the rail thing. Kylo Ren, Reva. I feel like there's another one that's happened in this like Disney Star Wars era of just like, I'm sick and tired of the darks. Just make them die bad, some of them. They all have to turn. So I didn't like that Easter, or like that nugget potentially, but I did like showing the difference between Shin does want to do that. She does want the power. Even last episode, right? She says it's our turn to win, and Balin said, well, no, it's not about winning. So what did you take from their kind of, I assume they're never going to, they'll definitely never see each other again, at least these two actors, I imagine, in the series. But as far as these characters, they might not see each other again. It might be a long time. Who knows? But what did you take from the splitting here? And Balin kind of like, he's piecing out. Like, he was pretty much just using Morgan and Thrawn to get to here. He was never, it sounded like, trying to help Thrawn, which makes sense now because we were always like, what's this guy up to? And we heard about the power last week, but it's to the extent of not even like, oh, I'm with Thrawn, I'm going to get this power. It's like, no, I want nothing to do with this war. See you, I got what I wanted. So what do you think about the dynamic of them two?
Yeah, I'm still just trying, like, whatever that power is, that's the thing we're trying to figure out. But with Balin saying his farewells to Shin, yeah, it's interesting because Shin obviously seems to maybe have an inkling of what Balin is trying to get after, or maybe she just doesn't care. She's totally fine and justified with the fact that, like, hey, you can go do your thing. I don't really care anymore. I have respect for you, but you're obsessed with it. I'm just,
plus this thing might not be guaranteed. It might not be
Yeah.
guaranteed his thing, right?
Exactly. So she just wants to bugger off, and she's happy to accept the killing blow and the credit and all that jazz. She still does seem confused, even when she's talking to Balin, and Balin's like, call it in, call in the Thrawn, go in, and all that kind of stuff. And she still seems kind of confused, I guess. Maybe she isn't totally informed as to what he is after, because he does talk cryptic to her, like power, oh, like go back to the beginning, and I can't interpret that yet, so I'm sure Shin can't really interpret that yet. She doesn't really know why they're there, and she feels like, okay, we need to leave this place too, and she doesn't want to stick around on the planet. But the whole scene of her fleeing away, I like that, and the intensity, and Ahsoka reaching out, like you were talking about that too, and just Rey reaching out to, or I guess no, it'd be Kylo Ren reaching out the reverse to Rey. There's just certain parallels and dynamics that I
No,
really
Ray
like.
reached out to him first, so that was all Last Jedi, right? Was you'll turn to the light side, and then he's like,
I
no, you'll
guess,
turn to
but
the
I'm
dark side.
I'm thinking more like he's reaching out with his hand in the throne room, right?
Okay,
Like,
literally.
or again, like even in Force Awakens, like you need a teacher. He's always reaching out to Rey all the time. So, and again in Rise of Skywalker, like next time I give you my hand, you'll take it. Like he's always reaching out to her. But yeah, I do think though that scene of Ahsoka reaching out to Shin was really, really wonderful. You got they're two Bakken Jedi, and you got Ahsoka. They're all just standing there, and you got this
Well, Ahsoka's not.
girl.
Oh, I see. So Sabine Sabak, and I was gonna say, I thought you were calling
Yeah,
her Sabak.
Sabine. No, Ahsoka isn't. Ahsoka's real deal. But then they're all standing there in their lineup, and just Shin's just like overwhelmed, and I don't even feel like she really considered it. I think she just felt really compromised because the troops are pulling out, and then yeah, her just running off. I really liked that scene. I really, really liked it. It was very fitting. And what she's gonna do, I don't know. She her master's kind of ditched her. Her master had that moment of like looking around, like, yeah, I got my mount stolen. I'm just gonna walk off in this direction. So is she gonna go back to Thrawn? What kind of dynamic are we
Yeah.
gonna get here? Like, it's gonna be pretty cool.
I think Thrawn and her will get along for the most part because I think they right now have the same goals. Again, I just worry because I feel like at the beginning of Kenobi, we didn't think that about Reva. We're like, they probably won't turn her, and they still did, So that's my thing of like a little Easter egg here or just a little hint of it here. I just don't want again because it's just repetitive, and we've seen it too many times. And just have her be a dark side, whatever Jedi person that she gets, that make that Sabine's big kill. Like Sabine's, like how Darth Maul was the Obi-Wan in Phantom Menace, make that her Darth Maul of like Shin's gonna say no, well, I'm gonna take her down. I think Thrawn and her will get together good enough, and I think that now, even though Balin was her master, not that she's a master, but I consider, if we're talking about like status, shouldn't it be like a Jedi Knight? Because it felt like Balin was kind of being going like this, like a word of advice, but almost felt like his last piece of advice. It's kind of like Qui-Gon being like, "I've taught you everything I could, Obi-Wan." Like,
Train the boy.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah. I don't know what he's gonna give her for last piece of advice, but I feel like they'll get together well because Thrawn will be I think they just both are gonna be wanting power back. That's the thing. Thrawn's gonna want, power in general. Thrawn's gonna want it back, and Shin's gonna want it for the first time. But Shin does strike me as a character that could want that. I want to be leading the charge. I want to be that Vader type. But again, I hope that you're right, and I hope that, because I do agree there was a little bit with Shin where it felt like she was like, I don't want that. But I just feel like anytime a character is just like presented that option lately, like, well, because any villains that don't, like Snoke didn't get that, or Palpatine, of course, right? But the villains that do, it's like, we keep seeing this happen. But let's see. What is Balin's Endgame, says Scarf Scuttlebutt podcast, and then no redemption for Shin. Let bad guys be bad guys. Yeah, and I'm always not opposed to redemption. I just think we've just had a lot in the Disney era. Like, let's just have some bad guys make some villains unrepentant. Yeah, I agree. Like, that's where I was on that bandwagon with Kylo when we started, but I did shift to like, okay, with the Reylo thing, I was fine with it because I liked the dynamic. Reva was completely unnecessary. That episode where Vader struck her down, Vader should have just killed her. I was completely fine with Reva just using everybody to get to Vader. That worked for me. But then when she's like, she gets redeemed. Remember how she chasing fucking Aunt Beru and Uncle Owen through Tatooine with a lightsaber, and she's still redeemed. My God. And I still feel like there's one more in this show that I'm maybe forgetting in these series. But yeah, Balin, I really don't know. I was super worried, very worried when he's like, I'm done with Thrawn. Shin, here's my last piece of advice. Good luck. It's been a pleasure being your master. See you later. and Ahsoka gets the plan. She lands. I'm like, fuck, man, they're gonna kill him right here because this happens all the time in these sort of shows, and I'm very happy it didn't. Now I do think what's gonna happen is next week that he's not gonna be in the episode much, and he's gonna get to some point where you see what this power could be, and it will be like a cliffhanger for season 2. Now it's gonna be tough because I think they are gonna have to recast with this one if they leave it in such a whatever way. And I like that. Obviously, they couldn't have known Ray Stevenson, unfortunately, was going to pass away. But I was really worried. Were you worried all that Ahsoka was going to kill him right there? Because I thought, what a Star Wars thing for them to do, like in a fuckery way where, oh, what's his power? What's he going after? And we never find out because he got killed on the way. I thought we were going that route for a second. I really did.
Yeah, I really had that vibe too. The way they set up the fight scene and everything with Ahsoka landing there, and it just, yeah, it really felt like. And then you see the Starfighter come in, and I was like, they're gonna just like obliterate this guy. Holy shit! Like it's gonna be Hugh Yang that gets the killing blow on Balin's skull. But no, that's not
another
the
one
case.
for the history books.
Yeah, Jedi Protocol and all. But yeah, I'm genuinely happy that he is still alive because I want to see what this angle is. I want to see what his motivations are here, and that's all going to be unfolded in the next episode. Or they don't unveil it, and they save it for season 2 or whatever follow up they do, which I'm totally okay with. But it'll be interesting how they deal with the passing and how they handle it in this character. So that'll be interesting. I don't know. Maybe I hope that they wouldn't transition it over to Shin, and maybe something they do something with Balin. I don't know. And then they make Shin like, oh, you know what? This power, my master is onto something. This is how I can get that ultimate power. And then Balin's motivations become Shin's motivations. I wouldn't want that because their motivations are very different as established in this episode. So it'll just be very tricky how they pull it off.
I think you just recast. I think obviously we've talked about this before, and I was somebody, whether you like it or not, I was fine with them doing what they did with Leia and Rise of Skywalker because that to me it would have felt jarring. Now I'm fine with the recast when they're younger, and I think, like, not to be disrespectful, I don't think Balin is a big enough character where the recast isn't going to bug me too much. It's going to suck, but it's recasting for, because death, not because the actor's not there. If the actor's in there, I'd be like, oh, this is a real bummer. It's like the same way, like in Flash, I still like the guy that looks like Kirkland Patzer, but I still go, oh, I wish it was Billy Crudup. And he's not dead, so I can go, oh, I really wish it was Billy Crudup, but it's not. So with Ray Stevens, I go, okay, they have to. And for me, I'm like you, whether it's dropping the storyline or shifting it to Shin, I think either way, that is not fulfilling. I think if that's the route they're going, if it's answered next episode and it just ends, like I said, what if it's like a fucking situation where it's like the Guardians' power stolen when they show those people, they get the power and they explode. If it's something like that where it kills them, then fine, it's done. But if it's an ongoing storyline, I think they should recast. No, people stop suggesting Gerard Butler. Ray Stevenson was a much better actor than Gerard Butler, and I do not see that at all. So please, let's not do that. But even then, you can make some fucking forced trickery of like he changed whatever this power is, right? Or maybe it made him younger or something. I don't know. So I think a recast of it has to go further, and I don't think he's a big enough character for it to be a huge impact. Recasting a Mark Hamill, Harrison Ford, or Carrie Fisher in the sequel trilogy, I think that stands out a lot more than this show, and you're going to have to do it. It's the same reason like the MCU, they might have to recast Kang, right? It's one of these things you might just have to do it for the story. You can't just get rid of Kang now, all the stuff you're building. Same thing with this. If Balin and this power is going to go forward more, whatever this power could be, I want to see it play out. So hopefully, that's my prediction. I think he's just going to have like 1 or 2 scenes next episode. What do you think is going to happen with Balin and Shin next episode? Shin, I just think is just going to end up on Thrawn's ship, be a warrior, maybe some fights, and that's about it. I really don't want her to die either. If they kill off, to me, that's a big no-no. I think you could build her and Sabine to be like a good rivalry up until that movie. And when you get to the movie, sure, kill her off there. But I think keep her around for a bit.
I really do not want her to die. That would be really, really unfortunate. I think that they've really they've established her as her own character with her own motivations, and there's just a lot of interest surrounding this character. So don't kill her off. That'd be a huge mistake. I think how much we get of her, though, I think you're kind of on point with that. Like, it's just going to be a very brief close off. Like, yeah, here she's teamed up with Thrawn. She's going to be moving up the ranks there in the next iteration of this series. So that's that. And then I think with Balin, it's going to be pretty brief. So
Yeah,
yeah.
even there, I think there's even a chance that if this show has an end credit, it could be that, like Balin doing something. I don't know if it will because I don't. This is the first Filoni like purely ran live action one, and we haven't got that in any Ahsoka. Obviously, we got that
Hmm.
in Mandalorian a few times, so we'll see. Yeah. Anything else on Balin or Shin or Morgan? Obviously, we could probably go to Thrawn after, but
I think that's everything I got.
all right, go with Thrawn. What did you like about Thrawn this week?
He just really emanated that Thronness that I really like, and I'm so happy to kind of pick that up this time. And just everything he was talking about, discussing, and the only time that was just, it wasn't even timid. It was just like, um, uh, what's the word? Acceptance or acknowledgement is probably an acknowledgement when he looks at that data pad and he's like, her
Mm-hmm.
master was Jedi General Anakin Skywalker, and
And Morgan, no
I
idea.
love that.
Yes,
Yeah, no
yes.
idea, not a fucking clue. Just another Jedi. I love that because he knows that's Vader. He knows like holy. He went and did a mission with Anakin Skywalker. He knows all about this guy, and it's just that's so good. And I like how his tone changes, and he's like, okay, pull the fighters out. And the plan is she's going to be just as unpredictable as her master is, going to make her dangerous. So we need to make sure that we control the situation. And everything he does is so tactical, and I love it. He's got his little chessboard. Everything's going on. Oh, it
Mm-hmm.
just felt so good. I'm like, this is the Thrawn that I'm driving with right now. This is great. And at the end of it all, he says this is a success because everyone else was distracted. So it's like, hey, we got our ship loaded up. We're ready to bounce. So let's do it. And I love that. And then the other thing too that was a curveball because people could maybe say like, oh, well, his plan failed. He went in and sent the ships and everything like that, but he he acted upon the understanding that Balin was also going to be in that fight, and Balin
Yes.
bounced. So again, that's to his credit. His plan did not work as well as it should have. Seeing the gunships roll out was very cool because we've only seen them in the animated series so far, unless we saw them in Andor. It's possible we saw them in Andor. I'm
Yeah, I
not
couldn't
sure,
tell you.
but yeah, those looked really really cool. Seeing the Imperial remnant here going to fight was very cool. Dispatched with Thrawn, no Captain Enoch, which is fine, but the
He
troops
spent a
rolling
lot
out
of
were
time on that
cool.
computer. I was like,
Hmm.
it was strange. He felt like an actor that they couldn't get, so they had to like green screen him in. But I'm like, he's just a dude in a mask. Like he could be anybody. It just felt very odd that he was always the guy being like, "Here's the update. Here's the update." Like that. That's all he was. I'm hoping next week we see him do some badass stuff. I know that happens a lot sometimes at the Disney era. Like the Knights of Ren we thought were gonna be badasses and nothing really happened with them. So I hope that it's more than just a look. I'm not saying these be great characters. Do something cool. Take down, I don't know, somebody, whatever. Do
Hmm.
something. But we'll see. Maybe he's just a cool looking character. But yeah, I agree with you completely. Again, that's what I was saying in the non spoilers. Like he's doing that chess player aspect. He literally is doing the chess. Like he said, he has a chessboard with all the players. He's watching them. So, and I like in this situation where they are there's a situation where, like you said, Balin's gone, so that changes the situation, and Ahsoka is there, so everything's changed now. Like it's if you're about to cook a meal and you've lost two ingredients, right? Let's say you meant to
Hmm.
buy fucking, I don't know, fucking tomatoes and you bought red peppers. They're gonna taste differently, right? And in this situation, not good because they're allergic to red peppers, meaning Ahsoka. So, and that's what he says. Considering she's there, it's like not it's not that bad of a like the bad case scenario is them completely wiping out the troops and then getting back to the ship and stopping Thrawn, and that's why they pull him back because they show and there's like three little crates or a couple that still have to be uploaded and everything, so they're just waiting for that. So again, I agree with that. I like everything. I think Lars does a good job with his voice. Again, I'm
Hmm.
not like jumping over and doing backflips. I think there's going to be more interesting stuff coming down the line. Like I think that conversation with Ahsoka, because right now it's purely just the battle based stuff, and this is good. That's what I do like about Thrawn. But I think the better situations are like when we talk about with Rebels, when he had that interaction with Hera, and he picked up that it was oh actually her and it belongs to her, this heirloom and stuff. So when he gets to Ahsoka, which I think they will do that. I don't know if they're going to do that. I feel like they have to do that next episode just because if there's a season 2, why not save that setup for later on, like him to
Hmm.
ask about who her master is? I feel like they'll have a brief conversation next week and maybe expand upon it later. But no, like I said, it feels like Thrawn. And again, this is the tough thing with Star Wars. Everyone has a different take, right? I saw so many people last week when people were talking about his body being like, Thrawn's supposed to be like this, and they show that clip of him like beating up Klaus, or what the fuck is the guy that is the turncoat for Rebels? He has the big mun chops.
Agent
Callus, or like the robots. Again, for me, what I saw, like even Thrawn before, but what I saw in Rebels never matched when they flipped to a scene. He's like jacked and beating up droids. So that's up to you. If that's what you're disappointed that Thrawn's not that guy, then that sucks. But I never got that from that character. I thought him being like a badass fighter was always very random. But yeah, this is what Thrawn does. I like the situation. I think this was good for. And again, it's tough, right? Because I feel like so many people, even including us, have that built him up. Well, when is he coming? And he's finally came here. But like people say, oh, he's not that scary. He's not that intimidating. I think that's still kind of to come. Like, I feel like even in Rebels, when you first meet him, unless you know who Thrawn is, it's just kind of like, okay, this is a new bad guy. Let's see what happens. And it's more down the line that you learn stuff about him. So even the things of like him not losing his cool. And I never took Thrawn to be like he can be intimidating, but I didn't take him as like the scary Vader type. I just took it as like the mastermind that can outthink you. I'm never scared of Thrawn as far as like his muscle or how menacing he is, and he can be menacing. I just think it's more like I'm scared because we can't outthink him, and he was showing this here. And again, where it looks like he could lose, he throws that into a positive, which you can say, oh, he's bullshitting, but as the Thrawn we know usually isn't. But even then, you can make that case, okay, even if it is, he's trying to save face. Because I am very curious to see, because Thrawn is so reluctant to fight and put guys out there. I am curious to see if there's more units out there in the galaxy that are waiting for him. Like if we get to a movie and it's Thrawn and his army or fleet versus the New Republic, I would assume we do have some sleeper cells and agents, I would imagine, the New Republic. But for the most part, to have like a big army, I assume the New Republic would kind of wipe them out pretty quickly. So I am curious to see how he can build off this. But I thought it was a good showing for Thrawn overall in this episode.
Yeah. Again, he's wonderful. Holy shit, he's just wonderful. Proven to be great. Yeah, and I think that getting to see, and we'll talk more about that New Republic meeting at the beginning, and just getting to see the dilemma of them just thinking, oh, Thrawn, it's just if Thrawn returns. And I can't remember that guy's name, that senator from Star Wars Resistance, but he just pisses me off.
Right. All right. Well, let's talk about it now, because actually, let's take our next ad break, and then we'll talk about Hera, talk about Ahsoka, and we got another Anakin appearance. So we'll be right back. And we're back. So yes, we got to see one more scene of Hera, which we kind of thought if we got more it'd be this, and we'll probably get one more next week. I think next week we get the big reunion with Sabine, Ezra, Ahsoka, and Hera, like all of them. I know some people have been like, oh, Thrawn has to kill one of them to show, a big shit. I don't think so yet. Again, I just feel like that kind of defeats the purpose. Again, I don't know. That's the same argument people have the sequel trilogy, right? Was it a mistake not to get the OG3 together? Maybe, but I just think when you got a whole season building to this, leave it at this. I think if you got a season 2 before the movie, I could see someone biting the dust. But so yeah, we got one more scene with Hera. She's on trial. Very interesting. C-3PO comes in. I like that. I know sometimes people might think I wouldn't have. I thought that was the right type of fan service.
I didn't think you were gonna like it. No,
surprising. I enjoy that more as a plot point versus Rogue One, where we just see them just standing there like, look at that ship, R2-D2. It's just like, okay, that's just like what if we had CPU? And I know people like the fucking guy that's like, oh, I got a death sentence on 8 galaxies. It's just like, I don't need the guy to say the same line that he did in New Hope. Like, I like this where this is an actual plot point. This feels very Rebels-like, of just one of these characters randomly popping in for a reason, and it made sense for the most part. This is something I want, and I'm just very curious going forward. And that's been again the big the debate, right? Of if we get the Empire or the Hair of the Empire movies, do we recast? Are they not there? Are they deep fakes? But I've always said this at the very beginning, even Rebels. I said, okay, these are characters that are around doing all these things, but they're never acknowledged by the main characters, right? They're not in the cool crew. Well, this is the first time ever. Now, okay, Leia, I guess yes, Leia was in the show, but I mean in live action stuff. It just seems like they're on the bubble. In the movies, you don't get any mention of them. So in here, to have Leia say, one, that this was a mission that was ordained by Hera. That's like Hera and Leia interacting, showing that they must have some correlation. And two, her being like, oh yeah, to look into Thrawn. That means, which she would have known, I guess, a little bit about in the, Dark Times era, but still that she has like an idea and knowing of what Thrawn is, So that's the idea where it's twofold. Of I like this because again, I don't. On the basis, I don't like the rebels. I don't like Ahsoka. I don't like Ezra being all in this canon. But as I say, okay, I go accept it as Star Wars. What if they're here? If they're gonna be here, integrate them with the main characters. So I like that. Again, my question is just how far does that go? Because I think it'll be very odd now if in the movies, because we talked about this, right, with Luke and everything, and I'm like, why wouldn't Leia just send a fucking message to Luke to be like, yeah, this person could come back, ruin everything. Like now, especially with Leia giving messages, she knows about Thrawn, knows about this potentially coming back.
It might be dangerous too, because if again, Leia obviously holds a very heavy hand in the Senate here. But that being
Yeah.
said, I think that it laid it out great in this scene where, hey, we're not a rebellion anymore. We don't have to act like a rebellion. We are a government. And that means that there's laws to uphold and things to work within. And we can't be running around doing our own thing, leading our own war and stuff. And I think that's very important because now if Leia were to be like, hey, I'm sending out the Jedi fleet or whatever you want to call it, Luke and his secret fleet, Luke's fleet, then there would be consequences because you can't have one senator just commissioning a Jedi to run and do these things. That would be
No. I'm not saying now. I'm saying when we get to the Heir of the Empire part, when we get to the part where Thrawn comes back, because we talked about in the movies, how is Luke not there? If Thrawn comes back, how do you not send Luke now? When I get your idea here of like secret mission, maybe don't send Luke. It's not even it's not even a go for everybody. But with Thrawn comes back again, unless he just gets killed off next week before he leaves. But if Thrawn gets back into the galaxy, ready to take over, start the Empire again, with Leia now talking to Hera, it's almost tough. It's like those situations in superhero movies of why is X hero not here at this time, right? And I think it's gonna be very odd if Luke has nothing to do with taking down Thrawn when Leia's actively helping the rebels now, the rebels from the show, try to stop Thrawn.
It's totally plausible we could see Luke in there. And again, the Heir to the Empire novelization has Luke involved with Leia. And I'm not expecting us to necessarily get Leia, but it wouldn't be out of the question entirely because they did do that in Rise of Skywalker with young Leia. So we've already gotten young Luke, and I feel like maybe they could do something like that and throw him in there, which would be very cool to see. Yeah, it depends. I do agree with you though, because if you have like Leia acknowledging this threat, then I feel like you should have Luke acknowledge this threat as well if the Empire is rising back up, because that's pretty substantial.
Yeah, like I know it's this idea he wants to go start the Jedi Council and train these Jedi's like Grogu and stuff, which we did get we did get a reference to Mandalore, what was happening on the planet, right? That whatever guy, I always forget his name, mentioned
Carson.
that. So yeah, so again, like if Luke is still connected with these characters, he's connected with Ahsoka, Hera's connected with her, so it's just interesting of which route do they go. You know, it's like I said, it's gonna be weird. I get that Thrawn is more a Rebels character in this generation, but it's gonna be very odd if Leia and Luke aren't around for like the Empire potentially rising again. And even then, like this is why I'm completely fine if they do recast. And I don't know if I need Alden Ehrenreich back as Han Solo, but fine, bring him back. If they do recast, again, we didn't get this with Anakin, but you think about, oh man, the conversation Thrawn could have with Ahsoka. Imagine the conversation Thrawn could have with Luke. Like that would be very interesting in this dynamic, different than the Legends, because this was a Thrawn that like served with Anakin and knew him and stuff, right? So I think there's things you could do. I'm just very curious what their which route they're gonna go, because they could easily still they have Luke Skywalker's in the show and they're dropping Leia's name and they got C3PO, so it's like they're starting to use those original elements, and I'm all for it. Again, I'm more for the idea that I think they should just do the full recast, whether it's Sebastian Stan, get someone else's Leia. You already got Alden, so sure, I don't think Alden's a great Han Solo, but whatever, second chance. You got fucking Glover, they're talking about doing that movie or show, like it's there, but at the same time, if you bring all those characters in, do they instantly overshine Ahsoka, Hera, Ezra, and Boba Fett, Mando? I think they do, but at the same time, I think you can make it a cool crossover. So we'll see. Maybe they'll just make it that Luke and Leia are doing some sort of mission while this is going on, and that's why they can't be there for the fight against Thrawn. But yeah, she's clear. You got Mon Mothma here, who's questioning, like, oh yeah, Leia didn't give you permission for that mission. No, she did just later on. So
that was a goosebump scene, and I really liked it when like Hera, a moment like emotions and personal feelings aside, how real is this threat? And that sold me with Winstead's performance there when she says it's we need to prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Great line. I like that line.
Yeah. Let's see. So we covered Hera, Ahsoka. So yeah, we got one more. It's so funny because I just seen this recently. Like yesterday, someone on Twitter with some popular account was like, "Yeah, those lines we heard in the trailer, that was just a decoy. That was nothing." And we got it here again, and we got her just replaying a message from Anakin. I like this. You know, you got more Hayden in there, but to me, it just fits with what happened last week where she feels a bit more positive on her, or 2 weeks ago, a bit more positive on her master. Again, I don't think it's done that well, so I don't necessarily buy it, but I'm going with the character of, okay, she's in a better place with Anakin Skywalker, maybe not Darth Vader overall, but again, I think that's complete bullshit. They're the same people. I don't care what people try to spin. Anyways, so Ahsoka's seeing this guy in a semi-new light. They gotta take the good, but that was fun enough. You know, see his message and says there's hundreds of these like this, and this was his last one.
No.
So.
There's only 20. There's only 20 of them.
I thought you
And
said
this was the
100.
last one. I believe only 20.
Not 120?
I don't think 120.
I'll lean to you on that one. So, yeah, I like that. Good. You know, I think that's just like a fun moment. There's not much to take from it, but is there anything to add on Anakin? You got to see him in the Clone Wars armor one more time.
Yeah, I really, really like seeing him in the sequence. It was great. I've been seeing a lot more different like analytical videos of just the whole like imaginative like dream sequence that she has with Anakin, and how Anakin like kicks her out of the past into the present, and just like her dealing with the trauma and everything. Lots of cool stuff. So to get this follow up with him in here was wonderful, and just to see that compassion that he has, caring very much and being passionate about, you know, his close ones to him. I really like this scene, and it emphasizes that in the training. Felt very Clone Warsy to a degree. The big thing I really liked is him just dropping when you're out there fighting General Grievous, Asajj Ventress, or Count Dooku. It was just the Asajj Ventress acknowledgement was really, really cool. That's a nice little Easter egg to just sneak in there. I appreciate that. Yeah, really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, and then she used much more kind of, I'd say, closer to like Rebels before Vader. Like when she finds out she's close to the Rebels version now, she's playing Ahsoka a bit more lighthearted and a bit more, I'm not saying I say joyous, but just a bit more personality. Before she was very restrained. So again, that's showing last episode, so that worked for me. I like Rosaria. You know, the fight scene and stuff was good. I guess we can transition to Sabine and Ezra. I like their conversation here. Again, last week I still wish there was a bit more of an emotional comeback, but I like their conversation here. Again, I was worried they were gonna have Shin kill Ezra at some point, because just the way they set it up.
Almost. His hair was sizzling.
Yeah, I was like, oh man, I'm not gonna like this either. And it was odd. There's an odd situation where Sabine, I like the joke of like, they take your lightsaber. Well, you take it. You're trained with it. You know, no, it's your lightsaber. Well, last time I gave it to you, I'll just use the Force. So like, that's fine. I don't actually think they made his fight scenes like the best. Like he didn't look like he was kicking ass. It kind of looked awkward. But there's just one moment where Shin is standing there and Sabine has a lightsaber to her, and Sabine looks at Ezra like, do your thing. What thing? Like, I know it's like the Force, but like, just strike her down or something, or do something, like disarm her. And then Shin just fucking like throws him across the room, and then they got a fight. So I thought the action in this scene was kind of like awkward. It could have been a bit better. I was like, oh, these three together are gonna be kicking ass, and I don't think it hit that level. I still like when Sabine and Shin fight. I think that's good. And I should mention too, I liked Ahsoka and Balin. I don't think it was as good as their first fight. I thought this fight was a lot of hitting sabers and staring at each other for a while. But so I don't think the action in this episode was top notch, but fun to see the reunion. I think both Sabine and Ezra, the actors, have good chemistry together, so that's good. They still really haven't filled Ezra in on anything that's going on. This poor schmuck, like, he has no fucking clue. They got to figure that out maybe next week. Again, I'm waiting for him, I guess, maybe to be mad at Sabine. And, you know, we said goodbye to the little turtle people. So I liked the majority of what we got here. Like I said, I didn't love the action. And Ezra using the Force, that was fine. That kind of answered our question, I guess, about the lightsaber. So maybe he's intending to give it to her, which also I think could be a sign of him dying, because he won't need to make his own lightsaber if he dies. So, yeah, what do you think about Ahsoka's being Ezra in this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing all three of them together was really, really nice. I really liked it. And seeing Ahsoka be much more a new type of character than what we've seen her in the past few episodes. I felt like she's very emanating this different quality to her, and that's
Big dick
resonating
energy.
to big dick energy. Yeah, especially when she fights Balin. Balin's like, "You can't defeat me," and she's like, "No, perhaps you're right. Maybe I don't have to." And then she just disappears, uh, steals her mount or his
Yeah.
mount. But yeah, I think the fact that Ahsoka has like at this point, no kind of qualms with Sabine handing over the map. I think that's kind of okay. I'd still be pissed if I was Ahsoka, because it's like, hey, well, at least of course you got Ezra here, so you're gonna be happy about that. But you did kind of fuck the galaxy over a little bit, so you have
Yes.
to take that with a grain of salt, I guess. And you're right, Ezra's completely daft. Like, oh, look at everyone's here. Oh, there's the ship, and that ship's gonna take us out of the galaxy. Everything's great. Like,
You thought she was
oh.
dead?
Yeah, thought she was dead. So there's the poor guy. I do wonder how and what their solution is going to be. Like, what are they going to do to get out of here? Because the whales are gone. Which that sequence when they arrived in the planet in the Imperial minefield, that was fucking awesome. That was visually one of my favorite. Just like cinematic wonders. I wish I could see that on the big screen, because the minefield going off felt very Thrawnish. The whales like freaking out and the sea explosions. Oh, that was so cool.
Yeah,
I
and the
digress.
whales were like, I'm getting the fuck out of here.
Getting the fuck out.
I feel like it'll be something like they're gonna attach the Thrawn ship or something like that. That's my theory. Something to do with them leaving at the same time.
Probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes. But overall, I think the three characters, they need to have an open discussion, and hopefully Ezra isn't too mad. I am curious to see if Ezra does use his saber again a little bit. They were probably definitely saving it, and they wanted to subvert expectations when he's like, do your thing. And I was just like, no, the Force is my ally. And you kind of chuckle at it, but he did handle his own. He was okay. He does get a blaster eventually, so it's like, well, why didn't he just take his lightsaber? But I digress.
I'm fine with that because he's been alone. He hasn't had a lightsaber, so I imagine he's still doing the Force. I just wish they had some cooler Force stuff. There was just a lot of Force pushes, which I know people might be like, what else? But just even the way his guys would go, like just have some on some wires, just something like make him pop off where it's like, oh, really cool. Where it was just general Force stuff. I was like, okay. And at that point too, it's like, I get he has the Force and she has one lightsaber, and they called them, I don't know. It's like, I guess they called them back. I guess because Ahsoka showed. That's fine. But I thought when it was just the two of them, it's like I don't see you two making out of this. As much armor as you have in Force, it's like you're just gonna get shot to oblivion here. But Ahsoka came and helped a little bit. So yeah, is there anything else on this episode that you wanted to bring up or touch upon before we end it?
No, I don't think so. The action, the score, Ezra meeting up with everyone, the meeting. Yeah, you mentioned the Mandalore at the meeting at the start. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, just Easter eggs, lots of cool little things that were adding to the plot. Yeah, and again, we didn't get confirmation, but I'm just waiting for them to confirm that the Night Troopers are indeed the resurrected from the Night Mothers, because I'm confident they are. But I just want them to like acknowledge that, and I'd love to see some more of them actually like doing some resurrection stuff. That'd be pretty cool. But let me ask you this: do you think that, I'm pretty sure they're the Noki, the little turtle folk? Do you think they're gonna bring them along, just fill up Ahsoka's ship, and just like, hey, we're gonna get you off this rugged planet and give you a better life?
Wouldn't think, like, I guess there's a chance, but like they seem happy there. Like I don't know. They have huts, they move and stuff. So I think that's a little much for me if they have the whole society. And I could buy like one if there's like one of them that goes, oh, I really love Ezra and I want to go on an adventure. Kind of like Toad with Mario in the Mario movie. Like, all right, I could buy one, but if the whole colony goes, I don't know if I buy that. I don't know unless I feel like then they didn't hit hard enough that this planet's really bad for them and they got to get out of here before they're executed. So maybe one, because wasn't there oh god, what were those stupid things from Last Jedi? They made it on the ships too. Remember those the Porkins? Or were they Perkins?
Perkins, oh,
Chewbacca was cooking them and they wouldn't
not
eat them.
Purgils, those are the whales.
I know it's something like Purgils though.
I gotta Google it.
Yeah. So a couple of those made it on the ship, right? They made it into the Millennium Falcon, so you could get a couple turtle people, but it's not the biggest ship, so
Porgs. Fucking
Porgs.
porgs.
Yeah, fucking porgs. How could I forget? So a porg made it on the Millennium Falcon. I could see one of these turtle people making it on. So maybe one, but that's it. One's all I'll accept. Maybe two if it's like one and his wife or his boyfriend or something. But like it has to be a couple. I don't need the whole family there. You know. So
Fair enough.
you think they're making it? You think they're coming along? You asked that question. So
I mean, I really did think at the end because they're all coming out, and Ezra's like, yeah, I think I'm going home, and all the turtles are coming out, and I feel like Ezra's gonna just invite them all on board. The ship's big enough.
all
I mean,
for
why-
all? I don't know
For
for
all of
all.
them, like why hurt a good thing? They clearly like have the tactics that was really working out for them, and their ships were working out pretty good. That's another thing too. You actually just reminded me. I got major Two Towers vibes here when like the orcs were on their wargs,
the
and they were like
wargs.
charging after them.
I won't go that far. I
Oh,
like an
I was
Ahsoka,
feeling
but
it.
it is not the. It's
Got
not
Theoden
the.
in there leading the do. Someone needs to redub that scene with the audio.
Hey, Andrew. Yeah, anybody in the chat, if you're in there, ask any questions because we're about to end it now. But no, look, I get what you mean. I would say the cinematic nature of Two Towers is nowhere compared to Ahsoka. So yes, it was a grassy landscape, and they came over, and you have like these like war animal type things. But no, I didn't get that same vibe, and no one fell off a cliff, you know. So
That's true.
yeah. So and who knows? You're talking about those witch mothers, whatever. Maybe they will. You'll get to see some sort of resurrections in the future. You know, maybe Merrick will come back for the movie. They got to bring him back because you know he got chopped up. We haven't heard much about him. So
I mean,
don't
he
know.
just incinerated into gas. So I don't. Well, I mean, depends how you can really resurrect. But
I know. I just don't know how it works. Is that means he's like in Star Wars Heaven or Hell, or is the soldiers out there running around?
well, I guess we have to look to Clone Wars for that because when you have Savage that died, he didn't turn into gas. Well, he did. He dissipated gas out of his body, but he didn't like just disappear into gas per se. So
Shit himself
yeah.
after the striking blow. But well, ladies and gentlemen, we have done it. Next week we will be back for the season 1 finale. And that means we'll also get a nice chat GPT written of the finale too, see what they come up with. So that'll be good. See if it's better. See if it's like Mando 3, where Mando 3 was much better. Luke and his Starfleet, we could get that. Maybe that's this. Leia's being on a call, says, brother, I need to get that Starfleet again and go kill. Oh man, wasn't that the ending though? Mando 3 and the chat GPT. Thrawn showed up,
and then Luke showed up, and Luke showed up with his Luke's fleet is how they call it.
Yeah, and they killed everybody. They won the day. I think Thrawn didn't die, but they still like won the day.
They still won the day.
So-
Has Kirkland caught up yet? Did they talk about that after 9? Oh,
No, we didn't talk about that at all. I think just Maddie asked our opinion on it and stuff. I think Carl was not a fan of it, but
Carl.
his shows are getting canceled. He has no taste and stuff. So, but yeah, we'll be back next week to talk about Ahsoka episode 8, the season 1 finale. Thank you very much. Until next time, it will not be boring, and may the Force be with you.